Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. It's been a really hectic week for me. A lot of discussions about Nio. We can see that today actually the company is up 5% or so, despite the rest of the guys, Tesla, LiAuto, Xpeng and BYD going down. So it's a strange feeling for once at least, but we take all the wins we can take. And then we had also the Chinese insurance registration numbers. Nio had, to be honest, a strong week. We can see that Nio finished with around 5,900 totally. Of those was 1,800 from Onvo, which is really strong. The ramp up for sure, like more than 50% or around 50% compared to the previous 2 weeks. So that's really nice to see. Although, again, the 5,900 is, I would say, not bare minimum. It's more than bare minimum for me. Let's say 6,000. But the sad part is that we are kind of seeing a little bit of cannibalization on Neo Classic, which is one of the points that I made before Onvo launched in September, that I was hoping that it wouldn't be the case, because we had by then started to see Neo deliver, 6,000 even some weeks, even more than 6,000 some weeks, and well above 4,000 most of the weeks, averaging around 5,000 deliveries for Neo Classic by, late summer of this year. And as Onvo came online, the best scenario would have been that they would just, add to it. But at the moment, it looks like they're kind of cannibalizing a little bit. But that's still not bad, 5,900. But look at Xpeng. I mean, 9,400. That is half of the deliveries that Tesla got. And Tesla had probably one of the best weeks. I think this might possibly be the best ever week for Tesla in China. Just, below 19,000 deliveries in 1 week. And Xpeng is like keeping the pace with Tesla, and actually at this rate they could catch up with Tesla at some point next year. Like, this is actually honestly insane. But yeah, so Xpeng doing just great. We have to, give them all the credit we can do. And when it comes to Nio, remember that by end of last week, once we got this week's number there, so November 18 to 24 last week, my goal was 1650. So 1650 onboard deliveries. So Neo actually better that. That's really really good. Now they fall short on the Neo Classic deliveries, but again, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. 6,000 totally is very good for me. Then going to the my previous video, I said that the title Q4 Neo has one big financial issue, and there was a few comments there that essentially guys threatening me, that saying that, yeah, look at this comment there, for example: reported to Neo management, you're making assumptions which are damaging the company, except to hear from legal department. Honestly, I don't like this. Like, you are entitled to your comments and your point of view. I've never, been negative on Neo or made anything up. All I'm just been saying that I simply don't agree with the management that they are they have to build this many swap stations. The swap stations are not utilized. Now, there obviously the total swapping per day is going up, but it kind of goes up, and at the same time Neo builds out more swap stations, and I think that's a winning strategy in the very long term, but not in the short term. And sadly, in the short term, we can see that the stock is obviously in very very nice need of upswing. 52-week range is really really bad compared to Tesla, but even compared to Xpeng or UID. And that's something that I think the management has to consider. Why is Neo, at less than 10 billion market cap? Well, maybe the market out there is seeing the potential need of another raise. If Neo's earnings continue on this way, remember that if you would have told me by end of last year that Neo would have maybe two consecutive quarters of above 60,000 finishing this year off 2024, and they would still make around 7 to 800 million net loss, I think that would be a really really disappointment. If you go back to the numbers that Neo had back then, actually we can see it here easily. So let's scroll back to, I don't know, let's say starting from Q1 of 2023. So that is the vehicle delivery for Q1 of 2023. They delivered 30,000 vehicles there. And how much loss did they make? Well, we can see that the loss from operations here was at 750 million. then 837 on 23,000 cars, and then 663 on 55, then almost 1 billion in net loss at 50,000 deliveries in Q4, and then starting to get in the right direction with Q1 and then Q2. My expectations was that Q3 would be less than 700, but then you can see here that they started to again climb up a little bit, and that's not nice to see. And the sad part is that it looks like they might actually increase their net loss in up and coming Q4, and that's because a lot of the sales will become from Onvo, so the average sales price is gonna really take a hit. We can see that the average sales price might go even below 36,000, actually closer to 37,000 from something like 38,000 or so. So that is for sure a big challenge for Nio. That could possibly affect the gross margin. Now let's see if I don't know, cost of other sales and cost of vehicle sales goes down faster than I expect. It's possible, and somehow they manage to keep the gross margin. But right now, when I updated my model, I think the gross margin is bound to at best be at the same level as the previous quarter, and at worst actually go down quite substantially. So that's been I think that's been the story of Nio for this year. They deliver for sure in terms of vehicle deliveries. No one can argue against that. Look at this. 2020 they delivered 40,000 cars, 43. Then they doubled it to 91,000. Then a healthy increase in 22 to 122, and then another let's say 35 to 40% increase in 23 to 160,000. And right now, obviously, I don't think they will make 235, but maybe 215, 220 is possible. Currently, Nio is sitting at 190,000, 191,000. So a 30,000 month in December is possible. But then again, remember that for this last month, they mentioned that they delivered 20,575 cars. And that is quite substantially below my estimates that I had at the end of the summer. I was expecting that Nio would not cannibalize with the start of Onvo. So my idea was that the Nio Classic would maybe at best take a little bit of hit, but the Onvo ramp would have been faster, so we would have seen 25,000 for at least October and November. But that's not been the case, and in order to meet their guidance of 72,000, they need at least 30,000 cars. And is that possible? Honestly, I think this is actually the least of Nio's problem. It sounds insane to think that in 1 month they will go from around 20,000 to around 30,000. But if you look at the run rate of Onvo and the insane kind of increase they had last week compared to the previous 2 weeks, it's like anywhere between like 70 to 50% increase in weekly deliveries or weekly insurance registrations at least. And we have 4 weeks left, so we could easily see 2,500 or so by end of the year, the last week of the year. So can Onvo do 10,000 in December? Maybe 9,000 is possible, even 10, I don't know, difficult to say. But the bigger issue is, can Nio Classic do 20,000? That one is for sure much more difficult. Let's wait and see, and we can quickly also look at the lithium carbonate price. We can zoom in to 1 year, we can see that, it's going kind of up a little bit again. But if you zoom out, you see that the peaks here, we are nowhere near them. So that's good to see. So I don't know if there's anything more to say other than, I was a little bit disappointed with some of the comments. I don't make stuff up. I just say what I feel is true. And I think Nio as a community and as a company would be much better off if there was a little bit more financial, care about the company. I understand investing in the future, but there's ways to do it. It's not binary. It's not like I'm saying you should, remove the swap station. Not at all. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm just saying, maybe before we add all these swap stations, maybe we could make sure that the utilization goes up, so the average swaps per station gets close to 45. Maybe then we can start to build out a bit faster. But right now, we are still around 30 or so swaps per station. And that's just, that doesn't make sense to me. 30 swaps per station per day. A day is 24 hours. So if you take 30 swaps, it's what? 1.2 swaps per hour. So you're telling me that you need to invest this much money. It's not like we are sitting at, I don't know, like, let's say 4 or 5 swaps per hour, which if you would take, let's say in real world 3, 4, 5 minutes, that would be half of the time per each hour the swap stations is utilized. Sure, then I would understand the need. But if you're sitting at essentially one swap per hour on average, so it means, sure, there are a few stations above, but there's lots of stations also below that. So there are a lot of stations with Nio that don't even have on average per day one swap per hour. So why the need of like this kind of gargantuan investment in all this swaps infrastructure? That's all I'm saying. Even if it would improve the net loss with 100 million per quarter, that's like really hard-earned money that would really impact Nios numbers and probably affect the stock price, in my honest opinion. But again, so thanks you as always for your comments, and even though some of them were not nice this time, I appreciate all the others. And yeah, thank you. Please like, subscribe, and engage in the discussions. And most importantly, a question to you guys is, what do you think about the gross margin for Q4? What could be wrong with my numbers? If you need more detail, look at my previous video, the one before this. But I think, I quickly made an update in this C column here, and I arrived at a conclusion that it might possibly be that the gross margin goes down. I don't know. I'm not saying this is a fact. I'm reaching out to you guys and see that do you think that the average sales price is kind of going down quite substantially? Because assuming that Onvo will be 10,000 or so of the deliveries, obviously it's going to be much lower average sales price. And we know that the top line, they gave a revenue guidance of, yeah, just a 9% increase compared to the previous Q3. And that is despite a 20% increase in vehicle deliveries. So it's a lot of questions. Well, if they actually meet the lower end of the guidance, which was 72,000. So probably the real actual vehicle delivery will be most likely, I don't know, let's say 71 to 70,000 or possibly 72. But yeah, so please make comment, is the R&D budget too much or is the SG&A too low? Difficult to say. Yeah, so thanks for your time. Please like and subscribe and see you in the next one.